all. Welcome to Corner Culture, Thoughts Off the Mainstream. This is Kalen coming at you with another live stream today from Central Georgia. Today, I wanted to give you a couple updates, first of all, and then I wanted to cover a couple of topics that I got set up today, some thoughts and things that have come across my mind that I've thought, you know what, I want to share my ideas on this. Not that anybody wants to listen, but I'm going to share them anyway. My first main topic after the weekly updates will be what I'm calling adult years. This is a concept that I came up with. I think I came up with this. Probably somebody else out there's thought of this or spoken about it. I don't recall hearing this from anybody else. So anyway, I'll share adult years with you. Then I have some more thoughts on healthcare after some discussions with coworkers. I also want to talk about the issue regarding revoking student visas, which has been happening lately under the Trump administration, largely at the behest of Israel or Israeli influences or interests, you might say. I want to talk about that. Another topic based on some coworker conversations is Bitcoin brain drain, and I want to talk about that. And then finally, tariffs. We're going to talk about tariffs. I know everyone's so excited to talk about tariffs, but there's a great video I want to share, and then on top of that, I want to add my thoughts to it. So let's get into it. So for starters, we are looking at the mempool. I'm going to make this a regular thing. So like, if you're watching the live stream, get used to it. We're going over the mempool, baby. It's still only 2 sats of VB. You know, the minimum is 1. The minimum is 1. I'm going to say that one more time. The minimum is 1 sat per VB. And right now, the average is 2. 2 sats of VB. In other words, for those of you who might not know what that means, you can literally use Bitcoin for coffee right now. You can use Bitcoin for a slice of pizza. You can use Bitcoin to buy and sell a slice of pizza. It is so cheap right now. The average cost of a transaction is somewhere around 35 cents. Okay, you're probably going to pay more in taxes and other stupid government mafia fees for a coffee or a donut than you are to use layer 1 Bitcoin right now. Need I say more? All right. So if you've been collecting, if you've been consolidating UXTOs on your hardware wallet over the years or months or whatever, now's the time to consolidate them. Seriously, you can submit a consolidation transaction probably for 1 sat of VB, and probably within 24 hours it's going to get added. You see this green part right here? 40 blocks ahead. What that means is that currently the hash rate is a little bit higher than the difficulty variable, which means that blocks are actually being mined a little less than 10 minutes each, which means that you have a higher likelihood that your super low fee transaction will get added in the event that 1 or 2 blocks are like a minute or 2 apart, which happens daily, hourly probably. Well, okay, anyway, definitely daily. So just putting that out there. If you're stacking sats, you better be consolidating. And if you don't know how to consolidate, you better hit me up. Better DM me or find me on Twitter or find me on Nostr, and let me help you walk through that whole process. All right, so there's a couple of interesting things that happened recently on the mempool that I wanted to share. So for starters, this morning, about 5 hours ago, so it would have been, I don't know what time is that, 10, 11, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Solo CK, we have another solo block mined. This is like the 4th or 5th one I've heard in total now. Since I've been paying attention to Bitcoin, which has only been a couple years, this is the 5th one, and it's all 5 of them have happened in the last year. The first one that I heard of was right before the conference in July in Nashville, and that was solved by a BitX. And then there've been a few others since then. And then this morning, there's another one from Solo CK. And what's really cool about this one, if you watched my last live stream, I tried to show you this, but for some reason the Solo CK website was down. Well, now it's up, and I pulled it up. And what you're able to actually do is plug in the address for this block that got mined, the address that received the coin subsidy, you are able to pull that address up in the Solo CK Pool website, and you are able to see what was going on there. Now, I just realized that my video camera's in the way on this. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, so up here, this whole section here, I think it's just the summary, if I'm not mistaken, because the 1 minute hash rate's at like 3 terahash. The 1 hour is just under that. Now here's where it's interesting. The 1 day and 7 day hash rate is 51 terabytes, terahash, and 382 terahash. Now, if you look at the worker names, you got bitx1, bitx2, and bitx3, and that's it. So I know for a damn sure you ain't getting no 382 terahash on 3 bitx's. All right, you're getting 3 terahash. That makes sense. So I'm guessing this person either has a small farm somewhere and they're also mining to the same pool, or they might have bought hash rate from something like Wrigley, which I've done before. It's kind of cool. You can buy like an hour or a day's worth of hash rate, and for like $10 or whatever, and just cross your fingers if you're solo mining that you find a block on that hash rate. So it's just another form of gambling, really. But anyway, so I don't know where that hash rate came from, but what's cool is I'm pretty sure that this guy that somebody, let's see, I think it was this guy. So this is no. So here are the shares submitted, right? And then it lists the best share. And so I'm pretty sure if it's, I can't remember which one, or is it? Okay, so it actually might not have been the bit axis because these are all kind of low as far as, let's see, so that's mega, giga. Yeah, so that's only 52 gig, 52 G as far as the difficulty. Yeah, so it might actually not be the bit axis that solved it. It might be this additional hash rate that came in from I don't know where that actually did the solving of the block. But it's cool to see. As far as miners listed, it's only bit axis, and you can see like 1 terahash, 1 terahash, and less than a terahash. So this is probably a Supra or whatever it is, Gamma maybe. And these two are obviously the latest ones with the BM1370 chip in it, which is the 21 Pro chip, and it averages about 1.2 terahash per chip. If you're not aware, the S21 Pro has 65 chips in it. So, 65 per board, and then it's got 3 boards. So I think that's 195 total. So 195 times approximately 1.2, and you get around 240 terahash, which is the S21 Pro right now. So anyway, so that's kind of cool. Got a solo block solved by Solo CK this morning. And then the other interesting thing I noticed was let me go, actually, I think it's right here somewhere. Yeah, right here, Sec Pool. I don't know what Sec Pool is. I actually tried to look this up, and I just Googled it really fast and couldn't really find anything to, right away. And if you go to if you click on Sec Pool on Mempool, it takes you here. It gives you an address. You can see the hash rate over the last, what is that, year and some change. You can see all the blocks that they've solved, but I don't really know what the Sec Pool is, and I can't find anything online. So I'm really not sure about Sec Pool, what it is. It might be Chinese, and they're just, maybe I'm just not able to access the information. But anyway, but you see this empty block here, and you can just see the thing's empty. Here's what the transactions we were expecting, but here's what ended up. All we got is down here. We got the Coinbase, which is the reward for solving a block, right? And that's the only transaction in this block is the Coinbase, the block subsidy, the reward, etc. All euphemisms for the same thing. So this miner, Sec Pool, solve the block, so they get the reward, and it goes to this address here, right? But look at that amount. You see that amount right there? 3.12499,454. It should just be 3.125. That's the block subsidy. But it's not. We've got 546 sats, which is next to nothing. You know, that's less than a tenth of a penny. I mean, it's absurdly small, or like half of a penny, less than half a penny. So I don't know where this goes, and that's what I'm trying to look up here. Here. I'm trying to look. This is the address to which all these 546 sats are going, and you can see that it's been doing this ever since the beginning, approximately, of this sec pool. At least this sec pool instance on mempool. 546 sats each and every single time. It's bizarre, over and over and over again. And it's been doing this for, just under 2 years, it looks like. And in that amount of time, it's racked up 0.02 Bitcoins, which is just $1,500, which is nothing. But now they have all these UTXOs, just this absurd number of UTXOs, each one of them 546 sats a piece. It's going to cost them some ungodly fraction of all of those sats just to consolidate them. It makes no sense. I really don't understand it. And I even tweeted at a bunch of people on X that I think might be able to kind of solve this mystery for me, and they haven't gotten back to me, so I'm a little bummed by that. But yeah, so I'm just curious I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. I'll update y'all if I do figure out why this is or what the heck is going on here. I have no idea. But let me go back to this, and some of you might be wondering, what the heck is an empty block, and why in the heck does that happen? Well, it's actually kind of interesting. What it says right here: when a new block is found, mining pools often send miners new block templates prior to fully validating the new block. Okay, prior to fully validating the new block. So in other words, if you're mining to a pool, the pool sends your miner the template to work on when it's trying to hash and solve a block. And that's what your miner is mining on while it's hashing. When a block is found by somebody else, the pool will immediately send you the template because they want you to be hashing. Time is money. Hash power is money. So they want you hashing on that next block as soon as possible. But they send it to you so fast. They send it to you before the transactions of the just solved block have been validated. They send it to you way before they know for sure that all those transactions are valid. And so they just send you an empty template with a block header and everything else that you need to know so that you can get hashing on it immediately. So there is a short period of time there where miners that are mining on a pool are mining to an empty template. And sometimes they solve the block on an empty template. Blocks do get solved sometimes minutes apart, seconds apart. Sometimes they get solved at the exact same time. And another interesting thing happens that I'll explain in another video. So, as it says, when a new block is found, mining pools often send miners new block templates prior to fully validating the new block, often before they've even received the new block. During this time, it's not possible to select transactions for the next block, as a pool isn't sure which transactions conflict with transactions already mined. So in other words, they have to validate all the transactions before they can start adding them to the mempool. They got to make sure the node that they run has to make sure that none of the transactions from this solved block are going to conflict with transactions that they're going to add to this next block. And so they have to validate all those transactions first, validate the block as a whole first, and then they can submit pending transactions to the block header or the block template that for the next block. And so there's that period of time where the miner's got the empty template with nothing in it, but they're mining away while the node is still validating everything. And then once it does, it sends the transactions for the miners to add into the empty template and making it no longer an empty template. Now it's a template that has transactions in it. And like I said, sometimes when that template's empty for a few seconds or however long it is, might even be microseconds, I don't know. Yeah, block gets solved and it's empty, and there ain't no transactions in it. But luckily for the miners, even in that event, they still get the subsidy. They still get the reward for solving the block. But unfortunately, they don't get any transaction fees. Now, right now, that's not really a big deal. Right now, transaction fee is, here's a random block that I just picked. Total fees, 0.029 Bitcoin. Wait, what's actual block, 0.029 Bitcoin. Just a couple $1,000, few $1,000. Not, you'd rather have it, of course, but it's not like life-changing money. Or it's not going to change the equation all that much, really. Now, there have been periods in the past, though, of course, where the congestion on the network or on the layer one was just so high that the fees skyrocketed to hundreds, even thousands of sats per VB. And during those times, miners were making multiple Bitcoins in fees plus the block subsidy. In many cases, more than the block subsidy for a few blocks here and there. Now, so if this had happened during one of those environments, and if I solved the block in that environment and I got just the subsidy and I missed out on a network fee that was, close to the subsidy or more than the subsidy, I'd be devastated. I would be hurt by that so bad. I would look up at the Bitcoin gods and ask, why have you done this to me? That would be such a drag. All right, anyway. So that is the whole empty block thing. A neat little trivia piece of information to know about Bitcoin. So anyway, all right, next on the list. So starting off this podcast with the topic that I had mentioned at the top, which is adult years. So adult years is a concept that kind of came up with, like I said, I don't believe I've heard it from anybody else. Maybe there is somebody else out there that's expounded on this, and I'm just not aware. This is how I think whenever I'm comparing age, especially as I get to a little middle age like I am now. I'm 41 now. I start to realize the disparity in experience, in life experience, lived experience, between people who are in their 20s and people who are in their 40s. And I started to notice this in my 30s. There was a funny meme out there that, said, when I turned 30, I felt like I was 25 until I hung out with 25-year-olds, and I said, fuck that, I'm 30. Like, now I'm 40. So it's like I'm 40 and I feel like I'm 35. And then occasionally I hang out with 25-year-olds. And when I hang out with 25-year-olds, I'm like, God damn, fuck that, I'm 40. And so the concept of adult years comes with, for the purpose of this idea, I have to draw the line somewhere arbitrarily, and I'm going to go with 18 because that's what the law says. That's what we've all, as a society, I guess, just decided is the universal age, the arbitrary number that defines when we enter adulthood officially. And so we'll start it at 18, right? And I think we should just make it 20, in my opinion. You can't even drink for another 3 years at 18, legally. Anyway, everybody does, I know, but anyway, 18. Okay, so if you're 26 years old, you're 8 in adult years. You're 8 years old. But if you're 41 like me, you're 23 in adult years. You're 23. So when it comes to certain topics, like discussing politics, and I have these discussions with a 26-year-old, an 8-year-old in adult years, as a 23-year-old in adult years, it's like talking to a baby a lot of times. And so, I got this friend. He's a good friend. I really like him. I do care about him. I think he's a good guy. But he's 8. He's 8. And I'm 23. And, I hear him get into these discussions at work, these political discussions. He's very opinionated, has a very, very strong opinion on a lot of things. And he's not a dummy. He's a smart guy for sure, but he's 8. He's 8. So I hear him talking about stuff at work. And, the thing I heard recently was, oh, yeah, well, when I ask for specifics, nobody's willing to give them to me. It's like, yeah, because, dude, you're 8. And everyone you're talking to right now is 20 plus in adult years or close to 20 in adult years. And you're 8. All right? They've gone through the specifics. You think they haven't gone through the specifics at any point in the 20 plus fucking years that they've been an adult? And so, like, bro, they're beyond that. They're beyond that. They've already looked at the specifics, and that's what's led them to an opinion that's different than yours. Because they've been doing it for longer than you. Okay, and yeah, the specifics, yeah, whatever. The details don't matter in a lot of this stuff. For example, in like the issue I'm going to talk about later, like with healthcare, the details don't matter. What matters is the function and the incentives and the system and how we have it set up. That's what matters. The specifics don't mean a goddamn thing. So I'm sorry, dude. You're 8. You don't even have a college degree. You're talking to people who are 20 plus years old, have a college degree. Sit the fuck down, dude. Sit the fuck down. Turn off your stupid Destiny stream. Go read some books of ideology that is counter to what you have pre-assumed to be correct at your 8-year-old ideological range. Like, come on, dude. Like grow up. Like, grow the fuck up, dude. Jesus, have some fucking perspective. Have a little goddamn humility. Maybe ask some questions every once in a while. Oh, and by the way, you always ask for specifics. What are your fucking specifics? What are your fucking detailed policy positions? I've had this conversation with you before, and it's just nothing but diatribe and rhetoric and other bullshit. And to you, it sounds like detail, but I'm sorry, dude. You're fucking 8. You're talking to a 23-year-old. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Sit down. Go read a fucking Thomas Sowell book. Go read an Ayn Rand book or a Milton Friedman book or a Maury Rothbard book, like anything else other than the garbage bullshit that you force-fed yourself through your echo chambers that clearly have led you to, into this ridiculous idea that you've got it all figured out at the age of 8. Okay, that's enough about that. All right, so speaking of incentives and like bigger picture stuff, the policy details don't matter to me when it comes to healthcare because the system is absolutely like it couldn't get any worse. It almost couldn't get any worse. You have literally a system where you are force-fed a third-party middleman, and you are forced to transact with that third-party middleman. Like, you couldn't get any more antithetical to free market than that. So now the market has no anchor when it comes to price signaling because there is no market. So now price signals are a thing of the past. And guess what happens when price signals get disrupted? The prices go up. Because who to know what should be cheap and what should be expensive? Well, fuck it. I'm going to charge the highest price I can, and I'm going to milk the goddamn system. Of course that's what everybody's going to do. So, like, no fucking shit. The United States is the highest spending healthcare per capita in the goddamn world because there ain't no goddamn free market. And the incentives are completely askew. There's no incentive for me. Actually, I don't even have the ability to leave the transaction. I don't even have the ability to say, no thanks, I'll go somewhere else. I'll take my money elsewhere. I am forced to purchase your shitty product. That's the healthcare system that we have. And so I don't need the details, buddy, Mr. 8-year-old. I don't need the details on this because I got 2 options when it comes to political parties. I got one who absolutely is never going to change that system. In fact, they're the party that created it in the first place. And they are the party who are touting things that are even more ridiculous than this completely fucked up system that we got like Medicare for all. That's one option. So like I'm not. So if it comes to healthcare, if that's my number one issue, for example, and it's not, but like let's say it is, like I'm let's say I'm like 80 or something. It's like we need to go out and fix the goddamn healthcare. I'm not voting for that party. Like there now, so that leads me to the other option. Well, okay, well there's only one other option. Well, I better look at this party. Okay, well they're not perfect either. Of course they're not. There's only two options. Of course they're not perfect. like, oh, you make the wrong decision on the party. Well, but there's two options, bro. There's only two. Realistically, there's only two. You know, we have these third parties and whatever, but they have absolutely no shot. None of them have even like congressional seats, or state house seats, let alone federal congressional seats or Senate seats or anything like that. Like, we have two options, dude. There's two options. And one of them wants to make the system that's already about as worse as it can get worse by continuing to do the thing that had evidently proven that it's not the thing to do. It doesn't work. So if it comes to healthcare, like, that's not the party I align with. And see, it's my years of experience of adulthood actually dealing with fucking healthcare as someone who's not 8 years old and has to actually deal with healthcare on their own and not on their parents' fucking bullshit plan. Also, as somebody who needs dental, needs vision, and needs fucking hearing aids. I need hearing aids. I've needed hearing aids since I was a kid. And guess what's not fucking covered by healthcare? Even when I was a fucking kid, wasn't covered by healthcare. 40 fucking years ago. Well, more like 35 years ago. Hearing aids. Like, they're cosmetic. You know, that's the excuse. Or I think that's actually for LASIK surgery. I can't remember what the excuse is for hearing aids. For LASIK eye surgery, the excuse that it's not covered under healthcare is because it's cosmetic. You know, and then there's some other excuse for hearing aids. I can't remember what it is, but it's probably something equally as ridiculous. Like, oh, it's cosmetic, so therefore we can't cover it. Like, we have the most fucked up healthcare system on earth for this reason. And I contrast the experience I had in Mexico. I lived in Mexico for a year. I was in Merida in the Yucatan Peninsula. And I had a bunch of friends who had medical issues pop up that they needed to take care of. One guy needed dental work. Another guy, he got, what's it called when you get really cold? Not a frostbite or anything like that, but he got cold and then got sick, and it was like a lung and flu-like kind of thing. I forget what that's called, but you had to go to the hospital for that. Other friends of mine, like they got some surgeries here and there. And what blew me away about the whole thing was the insurance is not mandated. It's an option, and some people do. I'm assuming probably more to well-to-do, wealthier members of Mexican society. But for those who are not wealthy or like super well off, they can just buy what they need when they need it. And there's a whole market for it. And what do markets do? Markets price things appropriately. They give you the best quality for the lowest price. Or at the very least, they give you a range from which to choose. If you are a poor person, you can sacrifice a little quality for a lower price. Or if you're kind of middle class-ish, you can pay a little more and get a little higher quality or a guarantee for a little higher quality. And that's an option. There's a linear range that you can choose from. So you can go, if you need glasses, if you need eye surgery, if you need hearing aids, if you need, whatever, you can go and get it and pay for it. You can save up for it. I believe they even had like payment plans. If your credit's decent, you can take a short little loan to get it and pay it off, which is no different than what we do with cars. But everyone acts like healthcare is just a fucking human right. No, it's not. It's not a fucking right. Shut the fuck up. And it is a market good. It is a service that someone else provides for you, and you need to pay them for it. They need to be paid for their time, their labor, and their skill. And if they are not, you are automatically traversing into slave territory. All right. Well, it might be the grayish end of the slave territory spectrum, but you are still in there. So don't do that. So let's be a liberal society, a classic liberal society, right? Free rights and free speech and defense and private property and all that. We don't make people work for free. Okay, pay them for it. But they can't get paid if you fuck up the market in which they're trying to operate. They can't get paid appropriately if you fuck that up with stupid government policies and stupid market boundaries that otherwise wouldn't exist. Because you want your insurance buddies who donated copious amounts of money to your campaign in 2008 and 2012. You want them to be able to profit infinitely by forcing an entire country to purchase their products. That's not free market. And anytime you go away from free market, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems way bigger than whatever problems may exist without it. So stop it. Fucking stop it. And I don't need to tell you anything about policy details or, what are the details? Like, shut the fuck up. I don't need to show you policy details. These are the facts. This is how it works right now. And there's two options. There's two motherfucking options. All right? And that's it. We don't have anything else. So, like fuck your details. Okay, stupid idiot. He's not stupid. I love him. He's a good guy. And if you ever see this video, you know what I'm talking about. I still love you. All right, buddy. I like to have these conversations at work because this is the mode in which I communicate politics, and that's why I don't do this at work. Actually, that's why I don't even do it when we hang out, because it would just be uncomfortable for everybody. So I just I scream into a microphone on a live stream that nobody's watching, and that's how I do it. Okay, and this is the safest way for me to do it and keep everybody happy, including myself. All right, next, revoking student visas. So, full disclosure, I used to work in this industry. That my job when I was in Boston for 3 years was I was the PDSO, the principal designated school official for what department was it exactly? I think it was the Department of Homeland Security, or was it immigration? Anyway, my title was something that I had to actually secure through whatever department that was. And my job is to screen students that come into the school that I work for that want to study there, international students. I have to screen them in a number of ways. Number one, verifying that they are who they say they are. Number two, verifying that they have the money to support themselves when they come to study there. Not only support themselves, but that they have the money to also pay the school the money that they owe for the education they are receiving. And the department I worked for, or the department that oversaw the issuance of the PDSO licensing or title assignment, they made it very clear in a number of training and development, clinics or webinars that I went to. You're not only screening money so that they take care of themselves. You're screening the money to make sure that they can pay you, because you're a business, and you deserve to be paid for the service that you're providing that they said that they will pay for. So I mean, I looked at bank documents. I looked at all identification documents, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's what I used to do. And then the students would had to work with me to secure the visa. And then, when they entered the country, they would show the visa to acquire the I-90, which was an entry pass, basically at a port of entry, yada yada yada. And then on top of that, my wife's from Japan. I worked with her on her H-1B visa and with her green card. So I just generally have experience with immigration, legal immigration when it comes to the U.S., both on the student side of things and the work side of things, and then of course on the permanent resident status, green card. So, recently there's been this hubbub about students getting their student visas revoked because of political activism going on. Now, my first thought here is, as a PDSO, as somebody who ushered students into the country from all over the world, every single continent, aside from Antarctica, I help students come to my school, both in LA and in Boston. One of the things that I had to train them on when they showed up was, don't break the law. If you break the law, they will kick you out. That was one of the things I had to make clear to these students. Now, namely, what we were referring to, or the common concern here was marijuana. Because California's weird. Let's face it. It looks like I froze, or there I am. I guess I'm back. California is weird on that. So students, federally speaking, marijuana is still illegal, and your visa is a federal issuance. And so if you violate any law that the feds see as a violation, they're going to revoke your visa. And so that's why we told students, do not smoke weed. I don't care if the state says it's cool. Don't do it, because you're here on a federal pass. And so you better abide to federal law, or at least the feds' perspective or lens of the law. So whatever. Anyway, but you're not a citizen. And in fact, it's called the Student Exchange Visitor Program, SEVP. Student Exchange Visitor Program. Exchange Visitor Program. Exchange. What does that mean? Exchange. What it means in terms of this program was, when you're done studying here, you're going to go home. Go home. Go back. When you're done with your student visa, go back to where you came from. Because it's called the Student Exchange Visitor Program. So, there are ways for students to stay longer, and, there are ways for them to pursue a path of permanent resident status or more like long-term work status. But the whole point of the program is you come here to America, you get a top-tier, top-notch American education, and then you take those skills home and help better your country that you're from. So the whole thing of students getting their visas revoked, I got no sympathy for these students, and I understand the concern that a lot of people have, where it's they're saying you can protest as an exchange student in the U.S., but you better not protest Israel, and then you get your thing revoked. And I will agree, that double standard's fucked up. You're gonna let them protest about this, but not when it comes to Israel. I agree, that's a fucked up double standard, and is what it is. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just the principle of the federal government, the United States government, saying, you know what, you're no longer welcome here. And in that regard, I have no sympathy for these students who have found themselves in a situation in which obviously the government was going to be pissed off at them engaging in some of the activities in which they've engaged. Legal or not, free speech or not, you're a visitor here. You're a visitor here on a very specific mission, which is to get an education here and then go the fuck home. So if you're here rabble-rousing on a student exchange visitor visa, fuck you. Who the fuck do you think you are? And here's the analogy that here's the analogy that I would say that this is akin to. It's like if somebody asked me to come have dinner in my house, and I said, sure, this is what I cook, and this is how I run my house, and absolutely you're welcome to come over for dinner. And then that person comes over for dinner and then starts screaming in my face or screaming in my wife's face about the meal that I'm cooking them, and that it's not the right meal, and it's not vegan or some dumb bullshit like that. What am I going to do if that happened? I'm going to kick that person the fuck out of my house. Right or wrong, legal or not, doesn't matter. This is my house. This is my space. Get the fuck out. You have no right to be here if you're going to behave like that. None at all. You don't have any right to be here in the first place. You're in here as a privilege that I have granted to you, and you have now exploited it or taken advantage of it or just shit on it entirely. And if that's the case, get the fuck out. You have no right to be here. Just imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if I went to a third world country on a student visa, and then when I got there, I just started causing all kinds of problems for the state, for local businesses, for the government, by just rabble-rousing a bunch of people up about some stupid issue, or maybe even a big issue. But I'm not a citizen there. I'm a guest. I'm a guest in somebody else's house. What the fuck? You think they're just going to sit by and go he's causing a lot of problems for us, but you know what? We really stand on the principle of our First Amendment free speech rights. So we'll let him stay here, even though he's not a fucking citizen. No! They're going to kick me out immediately. And they have every right to do so. Now, again, that's aside from the issue about the double standard between, what it is that they're protesting about and gets them kicked out of the country. That's a separate issue. I'm not going there. I agree with some of the sentiment I've seen where it's like, oh, so you can protest this but not this. I agree. That's fucked up. But I'm not really going to comment on that so much. I don't know enough. Honestly, I just don't know enough. Okay. I need to research more. All right. Next. So speaking of people exiting a country, another discussion that occurred at work recently, this time involving Bitcoin, thank God, something not political, was a discussion centered around, governments banning it. And so me and another good buddy of mine who's also a hardcore Bitcoin maxi, we both responded by saying, you can't ban Bitcoin. You can only ban yourself from Bitcoin, And for the first time of someone hearing that, they're probably just thinking or laughing to themselves like, my God, these brainwashed maxis. To that, I say cheers. But the response was, well, no, you can only ban yourself from it. And then my argument was, yeah, that's right. You're going to brain drain the country when you ban stuff like that. And all of your top talent is going to bail on your country and go to another country. And the response to that was, well, not everybody can do that. Well, yeah, of course not everybody can do that. I don't mean everybody lies in everybody. I mean everybody who's worth keeping in the country. Everybody who wants freedom, everybody who understands that their bank account could be frozen at any moment and their fiat funds can be stolen from them at any moment, they're going to bail. Like, especially if they're doing anything that the government doesn't really like or, isn't too fond of. They're going to bail. They're going to go to Dubai or Singapore or some other, heavily freedom-minded and free market-minded country out there. And there's many of them. And by the way, not just countries. There's some like kind of sovereign cities, sovereign states kind of things that are out there. They're not widely popular or well known yet, but they are out there. And so as the thirst for freedom increases due to the global authoritarianism that we're seeing, my God, look at Europe. Look at Germany, look at the UK, and look at France. It's wild. Like, eventually people are going to seek refuge. All right. And this argument of like, well, people, not everybody can leave. You're talking to a guy, Mr. 8-year-old. You're talking to a 23-year-old who's moved around the world a lot. I went from Idaho to LA to Boston to Mexico to Florida to Texas, back to LA, and now I'm here in Georgia. I have moved a lot. You think I had a lot of money that whole time? No, actually, in fact, the most recent one where I moved here to Georgia, I was barely getting by on the skin of my teeth, financially speaking. I made the sacrifices that I had to make to do this. And anyone who moves, whether they have a ton of money or don't, they're going to make sacrifices. But look, man, you can get across the country on a bus ticket for like $50 or $100 or whatever it is. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. What I know is that it's cheap. You can put your shit in a bag and hop on a bus, and then a week later, you're in another state, or you're on another coast. And for less than that, you're in another state. Less time than that, you're in another state. If you have the will to go somewhere else, you will go there. Okay. Lest we forget how this country was founded, particularly the West Coast. People died in droves getting out to the West Coast. So don't give me this pussy bullshit about, oh, well, people can't move. Yeah, they fucking can. It's not about whether you're capable or able to. It's about whether you have the will to do it. That's what it is. And if you have the will to do it, you will fucking do it. All right, I've been at that point in my life a number of times where the will to do something far exceeded my perceived ability to do it. And I forced it to happen because there was no other outcome that I was willing to accept. No matter how torturous, no matter how sacrificial, no matter how uncomfortable or anything else, or even downright painful in a couple cases, I was going to make it happen because I had the will to make it happen. And, I'm sorry Mr. 8-year-old doesn't understand the will to make something happen. But that's not my problem. And so, like, again, your lack of adult life experience had really like shadowed your ability, stunted your ability to think outside or think on a higher scales of human behavior. People will fucking move when they got to move. All right. They do it all the time. And by the way, we witnessed this in COVID. California ran out of U-Hauls. And then likewise, Texas and Florida had an abundance of them. So if you were leaving Texas or Florida, coincidentally at that time, a U-Haul was dirt effing cheap for you. Unfortunately for me, I was one of those people fleeing to those states during that time, getting the hell out of Boston because that was a fucking COVID nightmare. But no, people will bail when they have to, and that includes going to other countries. All right, flight tickets are not actually that expensive. End of the day, they're not cheap. If you're going depending on where you're going, depending on what class you fly in, they can quickly get outrageously expensive, sure. But if you have the will to do something, you'll make it happen. You think it was cheap for me to move to LA and live in LA? Dude, I went to LA for 2 years in school. I didn't have a job. I made that shit happen. All right, I made the sacrifices. I did what I had to do to make it happen. If you got the will, you'll make it happen. It's that victim mentality that keeps people stuck in the same spot and unwilling to move or go anywhere else to seek better opportunity. And guess what? Those people are going to be the ones that are going to suffer the most and suffer the longest as everybody else flees their area, flees their state, flees their country because the government banned Bitcoin. First of all, that's not going to happen. I think we're beyond the ability for the government to ban Bitcoin. But I do think they'll try some other shit. And I think there is going to be a war fought over that in some kind of other way. I just don't know what form that's going to take or what that's going to look like. But, man, people are going to bail. If they need to, they're going to bail. So I just don't accept this argument. They're like, oh, people can't. Yes, they can. Don't be a pussy. Get your ass off the couch and move. Okay, tariffs. So next video I want to cover is the next issue I want to cover is tariffs. There's this great video that went around not too long ago, and I'm going to share it because I think it was really good.
Whatever you think of Trump, his economic plan makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue.
Okay. So that's key point number one. We lose more than we gain because of the way the current tariff situation is set up. And that situation has been one of the leading causes that has drained, okay, speaking of brain drain, not specifically brain drain, but middle class drain. What it's done is it has drained many industries out of America into other countries. And it's because of this, largely, not exclusively, but largely because of this. So first of all, that's the first key component here is that largely middle-class dependent industries have been exported to poorer countries, largely due to our tariff policy.
They need to borrow 2 trillion, 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target.
Now, in all likelihood, we know how this works. If anyone has studied any level of Austrian economics or any kind of Mises or Rothbard or anything like that, you know that their 500 billion target will never get hit because that's not how markets work. You can try, I believe it's the Laffer curve where you can pretty much predict the more you try and take money from people, the more they're going to get the hell out and avoid being taxed by you at all. So, will the tariffs actually pull in $500 billion? I doubt it, but we'll see. I don't recall ever in any of my study or any of my experience in life learning about this type of move when it comes to tariffs.
People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%?
It's not fair. Yeah, so this is what I meant. This is the part of the video I was thinking of when I said that this is why the middle class dependent industries have been bled out of the US. This is more what I was referring to.
Fair. And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again.
Exactly. So these tariffs will have hopefully the long-term benefit while prices may fluctuate and get volatile for a while and may even end up higher than where they were before. What I wanted to say in this video is I will gladly pay higher prices voluntarily for things that I choose to buy if it means it'll help increase the middle class. I'm the type of ex-Democrat, okay? I'm an ex-Democrat, right? I'm a classic liberal. I was the type of Democrat who used to say middle out, okay? Not top bottom, not bottom up, middle out. That was the philosophy of the Democrats back then, was we need to bolster the middle class to increase the prosperity of everybody. Everybody. But it all starts with the middle class. That's what this tariff policy is designed to do. Trump's just a Democrat. Trump is just a 90s, early 2000s Democrat. That's what he is.
That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also...
And we have already seen the foreign investment coming in. There was a list somewhere. Maybe it's here. Maybe it's here. Let me find this really quick because I know. I know I saw this somewhere. I believe it was a Fox News thing, and they were like, look, here are the number of investment domestic investment plans from major corporations thanks to Trump's policies, tariff policies. Damn it, did I not save it? Well, anyway, there was this whole long list. I must not have saved it. Sheet. Okay. Well, anyway, I must not have saved it. There was this whole super long list of companies that were planning or promised to and have publicly stated that they're going to invest billions and billions of dollars domestically in the U.S. Because these tariffs make it more economically viable for them to do so in the U.S. than in these other foreign countries. And also, I want to say, I think it is an astute argument, or it is a very valid argument to say the tariffs are also there to ensure that we don't compete with slave labor. That is such a good point on so many levels, just on multiple levels, like not just economically, but morally and ethically, liberally, just like historically, there's just so many levels where like that's a good point. If you're going to, if you're a country out there like China, for example, and you are profiting off of slave labor by extracting labor from people and then benefiting from that by buffering your margins when you sell on the global scale, the reaction from other, especially Western worlds, developed and enlightened countries should be, no, we're not going to let you do that. We are going to tariff the ever-loving shit out of your products that are produced by slave labor, and we're going to make it expensive just as expensive for you to do that than to just hire people and let them live freely. And then thereby we set up the incentive where it's the country's like, well, okay, well then slave labor doesn't make sense for us because it doesn't give us any financial benefit. So therefore we just won't do that. Like that's such a valid argument to make for tariffs, especially for that case, in that particular case. Such a valid argument. So I also wanted to bring that up.
Also, increased revenue means tax-paying businesses and more foreign investment coming in.
Yeah, so not only foreign investments, but domestic investments as well. That list I couldn't find anyway to that point.
He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues.
I love this guy's accent, by the way. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Possibly Indian. Anyway, love that accent. So yeah. Well, I mean, you know me, fuck taxes to begin with, but yeah.
He also make this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. If he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want.
Okay, I'm actually torn on this one, how I feel about it, because I don't want the government to do well. I mean, I want the government to do well because I live in this country and I don't want them to screw me over, but I don't want them to do well because I don't want the incentive for the thievery of a taxation to continue. Now, this is trending in a better direction, at least, like the needle's moving in the right direction. Like, hey, maybe we should stop stealing people's income and start tariffing countries that are exploiting slave labor to bleed the middle class out of the United States. Yeah, okay. If that's where we end up, if that's where this is going to end up, if we are doing so well that we've, number one, cut wasteful spending and ridiculous tax programs and dependency programs and welfare programs, entitlements and everything else, and the military industrial complex and the pharmaceutical industrial complex and everything else, if we've cut them down to a point where we are actually reducing the deficit somehow, and we don't need to steal from people's income to do that, and we don't need to raise property taxes or do other ridiculous taxes like sales tax, and property taxes is probably one of the most egregious and just disgusting evil taxes out there. So as long as we're not like increasing those, and we eliminate income tax, and we balance everything out with tariffs and that kind of stuff. If that's where we end up, and there's no thievery happening in my paycheck, then I'll take it. But I'm afraid that what's going to happen is the income tax still remains a thing, maybe even goes up, and maybe even sales and property taxes go up as well when they try to balance all this out with a lack of other revenue sources coming in. That's just my concern with this whole thing. But I don't know. We'll see.
So he will cut taxes for individuals. Anyone gaining more than 150K.
Okay, that's bullshit.
He will make them pay zero taxes, and
that's okay. So that's bullshit right there.
The US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes for individuals. Anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay zero taxes.
That's bullshit. You should not pay. Nobody should pay taxes at all. No matter how much money they make, no matter how little money they make, no matter what. Nobody should pay taxes on their income, period, end of story. And so this whole notion that, well, we're not going to tax you if you make less than 150K. You are now disincentivizing anybody to make more than 150K. And you're also disincentivizing anybody to pay people more than 150K. That's a stupid idea. It's a terrible idea. Just eliminate income tax entirely.
And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%.
I'm fine with that. Corporations shouldn't pay taxes either. It's all theft.
Compared to the European average of 22%, France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth.
Now that would be great. That's great. I mean, it should be zero, But hey, if we're less than every other country on earth, and that incentivizes them to come here and bolster the middle class, great. I'll take that.
Bottom line, this is exactly how government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed.
That's a free market argument right there, which is I'm really glad that he brought that up in this video, because that's what price signaling does. Price signaling tells you where the money needs to go. And when markets are disrupted by policy or burdens or barriers or anything else that governments do, that mafias do, it disrupts price signals. And when price signals are disrupted, markets don't know where to divert the money most efficiently. And so price controls, what price controls do, and any other kind of policy on a free market like that in any kind of way, shape, or form, is always going to create waste. It's going to create massive amount of waste, and either going to create waste with shortages or with surpluses. Both of those are waste. This is economics 101. It's going to create waste. And so I'm really glad you brought this up. It's a great argument. You need free markets. You need price signals to be accurate, clear, and specific. Otherwise markets don't know what to do, and the money's going to get wasted.
To the elderly, because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed. To the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government.
I don't know if I agree with that one. I don't know if I agree with that. I'm gonna let that one slide though. I like this video this guy made, so I'm gonna let that slide.
To protect the weak. Very few countries have the political will to do it. It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision.
Now that's true. We all saw what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco for a visit. They claimed they solved the homeless problem in a day. In a day, they solved it, no problem. And he even got called out for it, in the election running up to 2024. And he had some bullshit excuse for it. And yeah, so he's exactly right there. It's the political will. They do not want to eliminate the homeless problem. The homeless problem benefits them. It gives them a reason to exist. Oh, we promise we'll fix it. If you just give us some more money, more taxes, and more power, I promise to fix it this time. That's why they want they want that problem there. They want it, and it's going to come crashing down on them, but, it is what it is.
Do you have leaders to do it? It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision.
Like Trump.
Do you have leaders in your country pushing for real reform, or are they talking about non-relevant side topics? And let me know if you think Trump's plan is bad. Let me know why, because I think it is just common sense.
It is just common sense. It really just kind of is. And I know a lot of people are like hating on Trump.
Whatever you think of Trump,
hating on the plan, the tariffs and everything. And I know the left, love to say, oh, everything could be more expensive. Yeah, well, inflation was more expensive, dipshit. And that's just a fucking insidious hidden tax, and you were all about that. And you told us it wasn't happening, and you told us it was transitory, and then you told us it was actually good for us. So shut the fuck up. Sit down, Mr. 8-year-old. Jesus Christ. So anyway, yeah, so speaking of which, here's your government. This is your government, dude. Remember your government? This is your government. You're going to look at it when it's a family in hospital, it makes you be overwhelmed. That's your government. You know who my government is? Let me show you. Let me show you who my government is. My government. Oh, hold on. Wow, I didn't realize this page was that active. Where is it? Dude, they didn't take it down. Did they take it down? No. No. Dude, they took it down. Oh my God. Why? I mean, yes, there it is. This is my White House. Oh, yeah. That's right. You want to bitch and moan about the adults being in charge? Well, how do you like that, sauce sugar? Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, so sorry, Mr. 8-year-old. Fuck Fuck your government. Fuck your lived experience. Read a book. Sit the fuck down. Shut the fuck up. Let the adults talk. The adults who actually have some goddamn adulting experience. Love you, buddy. We hanging out this weekend still? Cool. All right, sounds good. Anyway, that's all I got. Yeah, till next time. Peace.